Thanks for the opportunity. My name is David Holt with National Comfort Institute. I want to tell you a little story about Mike. Mike's a contractor out in Southern California, and he got involved in the business through his dad. Not unusual, right? So I'm a third-generation contractor myself, retired, thankfully. Anyway, so Mike started coming to some of the National Comfort Institute training classes that we offer, and he turned a residential new construction business into a very powerful service and replacement business where his average sale went from $6,500 to $16,911 on service and replacement jobs as a result of going through a series of training classes that he got through National Comfort Institute. Mike went from unable to pay his bills and living in his parents' house, and his first wife actually walked away from that situation because she just told him, "You can't afford me," to now owning the business, remarried, 3 kids, and absolutely loving life. It made a real huge difference in his family and his business.
That's terrific. If I can ask you to hold up. Is that a good story, everyone? Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. And if we can put them up on the side screens, that would be terrific. So firstly, who here thinks that that was a good story? I think it was. Absolutely. Do you think he told it concisely? Who here thinks they would have enjoyed it if he told it a little bit longer? Gave a little bit more detail? See, a lot of times when we tell stories, we think we've been telling a story for hours when it's been seconds, because we're in our own head. Who here thought that he talked about, and was it Michael, the customer?
Yep. Mike. Mm-hmm.
Who here thought, and by the way, using the customer's name is something that so few people do. So that was really well done. But who here thought he spoke about Michael's emotions? A couple of people? Let me ask you. The wife, what was the wife's name?
First or the second?
Oh dear. The one that was going to not work for him, and then now she does.
The one he's with now.
Good to hear that that was the second one.
Alicia is the second one. I didn't know the first one.
So that person, Michael, do you feel that he perhaps felt emasculated, stressed, embarrassed?
Well, sure.
Did other people know that she was excited about working for him and then maybe she was going to leave? See, these are the things we don't tell. The emotional three-dimensional. Now, I will tell you that the number of people that say, "Oh, we worked with XYZ organization." Now, if you're not mentioning the person's name, which, by the way, you're one of the very first people that's actually done that, so well done. When you don't mention someone's name, you can't feel that person's emotions. But when you share their name, you want to share the emotions. You know, when I was working with, and I'm not going to mention the organization's name, but a very big technology company. And what happened was, to create one of these stories like I do, I actually had to spend some time interviewing. And I interviewed 6 people about this specific customer. And at the end, I told the story back in about 45 seconds. And I was like, have I got it right? Now, this was almost an interrogation for 40 minutes to get this 45-second story, because between the 6 of them, they didn't have all the information. And then I said, well, hang on a second. This person, does he have a name? Yes, it's David. Well, why is it that David ended up moving into the cloud? You said you've been chasing him for years. They didn't know. They had to go find out. It turns out it was a government organization, and they had this feeling, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Great saying until it breaks. Well, it broke just before Christmas, and they couldn't run payroll. Government organization can't run payroll. David's the guy that ruined Christmas. The entire organization hated him, and all of his staff, including himself, worked over Christmas to make sure everyone got paid by New Year's. Think about all the feelings there because of the person's name. Now, knowing the person's name and sharing it is good because we can imagine, we assume that other people are imagining what's going on in Michael's head. But again, everyone's perceptions are different. And a lot of times, we're thinking logically. If we want to bring people into our story, we have to share the emotional fabric. It's on us to share those emotional elements. So let me ask you, so Michael probably felt guilty. He felt uncomfortable. Was there anything that he shared with you?
Well, you talked about the emotion of the things that Mike went through. Think about being married with 2 kids and you're living in your parents' home because you can't afford to live somewhere else.
Oh, gosh.
Right? And then his first wife walking out on him, I mean, it was brutal, right?
Wow.
And so once he transitioned, right, to a real business that was doing it really well, he was able to afford his own place, to meet the woman of his dreams, have another child, because she left him and the kids, right? So it's pretty brutal.
Do everyone get tingles a little bit there?
It's tough.
How is that not part of the story? So this is the thing. A lot of times we feel that this isn't important because clearly it's about the education and the fact that he learned and now he's created all this extra revenue. Well, that logically makes sense. But why I buy is because I don't want my wife to leave me. Why I buy is because I want the new wife that you talked about that's much more supportive.
Absolutely.
Right? So we have to think about these things. And the next one is, did we talk about after the implementation? Well, you have now. Now, what was the difference in revenue?
Well, at 6,500 to 16,911 average sale, he was a sub $1 million contractor and is now running close to $3 million.
3 million. Okay,
So
sub
3x.
million. But now we all know in the contractor world, revenue ain't profit, right? So what's the difference in profit for him?
How about negative profits to running about 15 to 20%
Wow.
net profit?
Okay, so 20% doesn't sell me. How much is that in real money?
Well,
600,000?
600K.
600,000.
Yeah, you can
okay?
afford a house
We
then.
really need to get to those elements. So what's the moral of the story? Did we hear a moral of the story?
Say again?
Did we hear a moral of the story? What's
Yeah.
the moral to you?
The moral of the story is come to our booth, check it out.
Well, so I will help you with that. Where is your booth, by the way?
So actually, we do education. We train people how to do this type of stuff. Absolutely, the moral of the story is something you said a little while ago, is everything is a system, right? So when you think about the system of doing business, sales is a system for sure. Hiring is a system. When people have really bad people in their business, I always ask, well, what's wrong with your hiring process? Right?
Yeah.
The only way they got in there is because your system of hiring is wrong. So one of the things that we focus on from National Comfort Institute standpoint is a systematic way to approach serving customers. And we focus on it the same way you just mentioned about the Scandinavian word of sales. We are all about serving others, not trying to take advantage of others.
That's brilliant. Well, let me ask you this. Does that lead to a lot more repeat business and therefore higher profit margins?
Try again.
Does that lead to a lot more repeat business from current clients and therefore higher profit margins?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the beautiful thing about having an approach, we call it high performance HVAC contracting. The beautiful thing about implementing that within a contracting business is the contractor has a recurring revenue model that's now there that keeps them going and operating years to come. And they also pay their bills in full and on time. Anybody out there interested in that?
So here's what I'll say to that. Now I feel like I've got continuity and safety, which most people only get if they're an employee. So let's look at this for a second. We've got Michael, and I hope it's okay, I'm going to share the story back to you. So when I first met Michael, he had a problem. See, for the longest time, while he had about $1 million worth of revenue, he spent his life in torment of chasing issues that were happening. There were always fires in his business, his staff were always letting him down, and he felt terrible because he was always letting his clients down too. Worse than that, he felt like he was letting his wife and his family down. See, while he had $1 million business, which a lot of people in a lot of models, business models, would feel proud of, in the HVAC business, we all probably know that a lot of that isn't profit. As a matter of fact, Michael was losing money. And every day he felt like he was letting his family down. As a matter of fact, his first wife horrifically left him because of how difficult it was. I mean, they were living out of their parents' home. It was just a horrible place to be in that business. Well, once he came to us, I helped him realize that his business was great. The concept was great. What was letting him down was the systems. I have to admit the relief he felt to know that there were a few things that were going wrong that were fixable. Well, we went to work, and very shortly after that, after implementing our training system, his business exploded. He started to make sure he dotted his I's, crossed his T's, made sure he found the right staff and they were delivering at the right times, made sure that they had a system for making sure their customers understood that, and that led to a ton more repeat business and referrals. Better than that, it led to a ton more profit. As I said, Michael, who struggled to make any money at all, as a matter of fact, he was making a loss, now makes over $100,000 a year, and it only looks like it's going to improve. His wife is now relieved. They're making money, and he, more than anything, feels finally for the first time like a successful entrepreneur. So while I totally understand that you may think your business is going along just fine, a lot of times it's the systems behind our business that can be leaking out all of the profits that we deserve to have in our bank. So as I said, come and see our booth. Where is it?
Say again?
Where is our booth?
I don't even know the number. Look it up in the app.
Perfect. So can we give David a round of applause?
Whatever the number is, it's in the app.
So David, I want to thank you for coming up, because that takes
you're
a
hired.
lot. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.